Now we move from that story of the NDAA, which we will not fully engage on this hour because we talked more about it last hour, to the Fast and Furious issue, right? This has been posed as, oh, this is just a partisan issue. You Republicans, this started under Bush, and you want to just, pretend that Obama's a bad guy. This is what you get still today. Anybody brings this up that is not a left-leaning Democrat, and they're demagogued into just attacking Obama because they're racist or whatever. No, get beyond that. See it for what it is. That no matter who's president, no matter which party is in charge, the real powers that be operate behind the scenes and continue the same thing. So what's going on with the latest version of the Fast and Furious? Well, it turns out one of the cartel members that was caught and extradited, is he up in Chicago now? They're actually having these things, the court hearings in Chicago. And I'm not going to go through every detail of it, but suffice it to say, this guy is, what do they call it, dropping dime on the rest of this issue with Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it's more like a silver dollar.
Yeah, dropping a silver dollar on this. And this is stunning information because many have been saying this was about the Obama administration's attack against the Second Amendment. Here's how we'd play it out. If we can let loose on all these guns from America without anybody knowing it, and we flood the cartels in Mexico with American guns, and we show, hey, look at the ease with which they can get guns in America is causing the cartels to shoot up people not only in Mexico, but it's flooding back into the United States through Mexico. We've got to clamp down on the ease with which guns can be bought and sold here in America. Did I capture that right? This is how the news has been playing?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what they're saying was supposed to have been the purpose of Fast and Furious.
Well, if that was one level of the op, it was minimal compared to the biggest level, which it seems to be. Now, Ben Swan on that Cincinnati Fox News affiliate, stunning what this guy has been covering, reveals that there are multiple cartels, which are known. This is not unknown, except most Americans haven't paid attention to this. Rival cartels throughout Mexico. And in a 3 or 4 minute span, he lays it all out, and I want you to watch it when we're off the air. And you'll see that these rival gangs have different parts of the territory, turf war scenario. So the CIA, Obama administration, all of these American government, quasi-governmental agencies go into Mexico and say, hey, here's the one we're gonna back you. We're going to back one cartel. We're going to give you the funding. We're going to give you the guns. We're going to give you the training. All you got to do is give us intel on all the other cartels. We'll go in and get them for you. But the price is, well, what's the price? All we want you to do is give us intelligence on them, and we'll let you run your smuggling operation of drugs into America free of any prosecution. We're not going to go after your guys. You guys can do it. We'll protect you. We'll protect you. Go ahead. Have at the American marketplace for your drugs. That's what this seems to be. More than the gun running, more than the Second Amendment attack, which is surely part of this. In fact, let's hear from Ben Swan. We're going to catch a part of it that's fully engaged halfway through this so you can hear exactly what's gone on.
During both Fast and Furious and the Bush-era gun-running operations, as long as the intel kept coming. And there is more. Based on the alleged agreement, the Sinaloa cartel, under the leadership of the defendant's father, Ismael Zambata Nebla, and Chapo Guzman, were given carte blanche to continue smuggling tons of illicit drugs into Chicago and the rest of the United States. They were also protected by the United States government from arrest and prosecution in return for providing information against rival cartels, which helped Mexican and United States authorities capture or kill thousands of rival cartel members.
Well, this is. I'll let you watch the rest of it because it is stunning the way he goes through and reveals this information. If you're not up to speed, you will be up to speed during that report, Super Don. And if you think about this is the whole idea when we talk about globalization, New World Order stuff. It's much easier to control the people if you have a centralized bureaucracy. And this is the same concept here that I see going on in Mexico where they had all of these diverse drug groups and they want to basically, no, we can control and run one a whole lot easier than we can control and run 10. And it's the same scenario, as above, so below. The Fast and Furious is about centralizing the bureaucracy, if you will, of the cartels so that our government or our government that has been stolen from us, no longer the official United States constitutional government, through CIA and other means, running the drug cartel in Mexico to control and profit from the drug trade. The war on drugs is beyond an abject failure. It's an abject success for those who want to control you, who want to influence, who want to imprison you for simply utilizing, for instance, the plant that God created known as cannabis, or worse.
Yep, interesting. And of course, that would be one of the plants that would have been part of this whole operation that was being, smuggled over the border because there's such a demand for it because it's illegal. I got to say a couple of things that have struck me, with the story so far, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it because it's such a big. I mean, we've seen this compare. This is people are throwing words around like Watergate. Yeah. This would be Obama's Watergate. It kind of reminds me of the stigma around Iran-Contra.
Yes.
There's some similarities there, but there's some interesting details about this when you think about it, because this story actually is being heavily reported on a website called The Blaze. Yep. Now, The Blaze is a website that is put on by Glenn Beck. Mm-hmm. That's his website. So I think it's interesting that if these allegations are true, this not only does damage to Barack Obama, but it does damage to George Bush.
Yes.
Which is interesting because you would almost kind of assume that somebody like Glenn Beck wouldn't want to do anything to George Bush, right? Neocon, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. But this has these are some serious allegations that could seriously do damage to both. Now, obviously, Obama has the most to lose right now because he's the sitting president running for re-election. And you have to look at, once this Fast and Furious situation started, it's been obvious to anybody who's been following this, even to a small degree, that Obama, Eric Holder, they have been crapping their pants about this thing because Obama has been throwing out their executive privilege to try and prevent Holder from having to hand over Justice Department information. So who knows? I mean, we're talking about a drug cartel guy. So automatically people are going to doubt, and I'm sure his credibility is going to be under attack when, they're trying to get to the bottom of this, because we're talking about a cartel drug running criminal murderer guy, right? So How can you take that seriously? But if you look at all of the other details surrounding this, just to the average person, this has a stink to it. There's smoke there. It's just finding out where the fire is.
But Super Don, this is also why we were running this 30% off special, which ends after the show today, on The Official Stories by Liam Sheff, because you got to go into the history that you were not taught in school about the CIA and drug running. This is, just like the issue of the CIA and our own government basically funding and training Al-Qaeda in the form of the Mujahideen, and now we're actually aiding and abetting them in taking over the government of Syria, so to speak. Right. This is the ugly part, the ugly side of the government that Democrats and Republicans both play whenever they're in power. And until and unless, like Tangerine last hour, woke up to say, oh my gosh, I don't want to see this, but now I must. And she actually took the step as someone who was a big-time Obama supporter and a left-leaning Democrat to say, I cannot stomach this anymore. And that's the point where all of this can come tumbling down. And that's the reason that we're covering this whole drug cartel story today, because the war on drugs has never been a war on drugs. It's a war on freedom. It's a war on the freedom of the people. It's a war to criminalize every American, much like the war on terror. This is the same damn thing. The Homeland Security, everything, the NDAA, the Patriot Act, is to make all of us criminals or about to be criminals so that we accept this level of scrutiny, this level of drone oversight, this level that any one of us could go off half-cocked tomorrow in a theater. So we beg the government, please watch us. Watch our neighbor. We can't control ourselves. This is how the game is played. And with the drug cartels very profitable, the war on drugs is a war on your freedom. And it's coming from both, as you say, the Bush administration and the Obama administration. That is a very important point here. And we've got all the stories linked up at robertscottbell.com so you can read them for yourself. It should bring down both parties, both establishment parties. And when we come back,
and Robert, there aren't two parties. See, and this is it. And I think
two parties.
This I think really kind of solidifies what we and a lot of people are saying is when Obama took office, if this was something that was started by the Bush administration and Mr. Hope and Change and, parting the clouds, rays of light from God above, kept changing that for hope and change. No, he continued on with the same thing that Bush handed off to him. And so this just shows there is no difference. We're not conspiracy wacko people wearing tinfoil hats. This stuff is real. And the more that you dig into this and you look beyond what it is that Fox News is telling you, the more you see the reality of things.